Hello, America. Interview with a jackass. Take one. Yeah, this time, and don't suck. And cue the not sucking, and we're go for lack of suck. I first really got into magic when a friend of mine, right before I went to college, showed me a magic trick and wouldn't tell me how it was done. And I got so pissed off that I decided out of spite, when I had all this free time at college, I was going to become a better magician than he was. And so I made a career for 3 years. My part-time job at college was always doing magic shows. Never once thought I would do a full-time job. So it's just as much a surprise to me as anyone else that I do this for a living. I went to the University of Texas at Austin, which has this liberal arts program where the first 2 years you take whatever you want. The second 2 years you have to take classes related to a thesis. You had to declare what your thesis was going to be. Some people would write a book, some people would try to get some research published or whatever. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if I could get a magic trick published or write a history of magic paper? And so I went into the dean's office, and she's, what are you going to do for your thesis? And I said, well, for the last couple of years I've been doing magic. And she goes, oh, and you want to do a magic show as a creative writing thesis? What a great idea. And without missing a beat, I was like, that's what I was thinking. So for the last 2 years of college, it was awesome. I took psychology, history of witchcraft, languages of science fiction, pseudoscience and the paranormal. It was amazing. So essentially, I'm the only guy I know who's actually working within his degree. I call what I do bizarre magic because it's a mix of sideshow stunts, mind reading, traditional sleight of hand and comedy magic, stuff like fire eating escapes, mind reading. I stick a nail in one eye, pop it out the other eye, that kind of thing. The first time I got a call related to Halloween Horror Nights, there was some kind of issue with one of their other performers and they needed an open date to be filled. And unfortunately I was booked at the time, but I talked to them about the type of show that I do. And they seemed to really dig it, and unfortunately it didn't work out that first year. But the next year they had a review show where they wanted to have a whole collection of different performers. The Enigma, Stevie Starr, the Regurgitator, the magician, Kevin James. And they put me in the mix for that. So I did a few of the weeks of that run, and then the next year they asked me to come back and actually do the entire run at the same theater. Halloween Horror Nights is not even in the same league as any of those other things. Everything anyone's ever seen is not in the same league as Halloween Horror Nights. It is its own unique thing. It's bigger than you could possibly wrap your mind around if you love Halloween. Preparing for shows at Halloween Horror Nights is really counterintuitive because traditionally I go from college to college. It's always a different town every single day. We just go in, we have no idea what the theater is going to look like. We do our best with what we can in a very limited amount of time. We got 3 hours to set up and that's it. Halloween Horror Nights is the exact opposite. We know exactly what the venue is going to be like. And even though it's the same, or some of it is the same material, we have so much ability to make things better. It's like this fantasy canvas where it's like I've always wanted to be able to take this effect to its logical extreme and do this with the music and have backup support to allow this prop to look even better than it normally does. And strangely, even though we're doing less chronological material, we're doing 20 minutes per each show, the amount of effort that goes in advance is ridiculous. One of the weird things about Halloween Horror Nights is the event runs so late. On a peak night, we'll do 6 shows and we're finished around like 2 a.m. And then you still got to pack everything up. You got to get back home. So I'm making it home 3:30 a.m. And after performing, it's very difficult to be like, well, I'm done with the hard day's work, so let's go to sleep right now. So it takes a while to unwind. So oftentimes I don't find myself going to bed until 4 or 5 a.m. And it's very difficult to try to sleep in until 1 o'clock afterwards. Quite possibly, the thing I love the most about working Halloween Horror Nights is that for 6 to 8 weeks, my entire life is nothing but putting on these shows. Whether it's the production side, whether it's the execution of it, whether it's just getting through the next show, it is so intense and so rewarding and so exciting. It is far and away my favorite gig that I've ever had the opportunity to work. The number of people there, the intensity of the crowds, the quality of the production is something that very rarely I get to encounter as I go from college to college with my usual shows. For somebody who spends 200 days out of the year on the road, the chance to actually bring my family with me, because I got a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, we bring them out, and the fact that every single night for 2 months straight, I get to sleep in the same bed and see my kids every single day just makes it even better. Now, my kids aren't old enough to even I wouldn't allow them to come into Halloween Horror Nights and scare the pants off of them. But they do understand that Dad's doing shows, and it's great to give my wife a chance to come out and hang and see how everything's going. You know, when we first started doing my Bizarre Magic show, we considered telling my children, whoever they would end up to be, that Daddy was in sales until at some point they could find out what I actually did. But I wasn't able to hide it. You know, you're editing videos or you show up on the Tonight Show and your kid obviously sees, oh, Dad eats fire. And my 6-year-old is just at that age where she notices that her dad's not like everyone else. Like, we go out to the parks and people recognize me, and she gets real quiet. She's like, Daddy, are you famous? And I was like, not yet, sweetheart, not yet. Obviously, for everyone, Halloween Horror Nights is about the houses, as well it should be. The houses are top-notch, and they have so many of them, it's amazing. But what really strikes me is how much there is to do that has nothing to do with the houses. The scare zones are phenomenal. You could show up, spend a whole evening walking around with your friends drinking, get a bunch of awesome scares, and see some phenomenal Halloween-related zones, the scare zones, and have a fantastic experience. Outside of Halloween Horror Nights, if I had to pick a favorite attraction, I think at this moment I would say the Simpsons ride, because I was so impressed with the way through the entire line experience they're setting up jokes that all pay off once you actually get on the ride. I think that's a masterful redesign of the old Back to the Future ride. Houdini had a principle he called no permanent damage, where he would try pretty much anything as long as it didn't run the risk of permanently preventing him from performing for the rest of his life or obviously killing him. And I've tried to do the same thing. So as a result, there are lots of risks in the show. There's genuine danger throughout the entire stage show, both of them that I'm doing at Halloween Horror Nights. But they're all mitigated risks. You know, it's like I've burned my lips eating fire, and I've gotten poked in the back or gotten stabbed. I have scars down my arm from doing the bed of nails, because it's a dangerous, it's a sharp, pokey thing that you're dealing with every day. But everything has been these small mitigated risks. For me, magic is a vehicle. What I love is entertaining people. I love connecting with people. I love performing. And none of that necessarily means magic. Now, I dig magic. I love magic. But if there was a way for me to perform and connect with people and not do a trick the entire time, I would be fine with that. But nothing I've encountered has been as good as magic to inspire instant attention and people focusing on what you're doing. I try all the time to explain to people how Halloween Horror Nights is like nothing they've ever seen. And they just don't get it. It's the kind of thing you've got to actually come to the event in order to really get it. And I'm telling you, if you're out there, if you went to some local haunted house, I'm sure it was fine, I'm sure it was amazing, but you don't have a perspective until you actually make the trip out to Halloween Mecca at Halloween Horror Nights.
Yes. Discount for NSFW.
What's that?
Discount for NSFW.
Yeah.
Being recorded.